In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He made everything that is, and then he made humans, his sons and daughters. Everything God the Father made was good, and there was no bad. He walked with Adam and Eve, and they looked to him for everything, trusting in him with everything. God told them that there was one thing they could not do: eat off the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. There came a day, though, when a serpent came to the garden and tempted Eve to break the one rule God gave. Eve broke the rule and rebelled against God, and Adam then did the same. God showed humans in that moment what the cost of sin was. He warned them that death would now come. Life would be harder and more painful, but even then promised that a descendant, a child, a grandchild, a great-grandchild would come and destroy the serpent and deliver humanity from sin. Even after the cost of sin was shared, humanity could not resist this urge to sin, this temptation to rebel, and generation after generation, humans sinned more and more against God in worse and worse ways. But God, even in the midst of this sin, came to a man and again promised that through this man's descendants, the whole world would be blessed. God began a 2,000-year journey with this man's family to prepare the way for this child who would come and save humanity from sin. 2,000 years passed. God had over this time provided the needs of this family perfectly. He had loved this family constantly. He had remained there for them permanently, and he had revealed himself and his plan to save them consistently. The whole world at this point was not only lost in sin, but had forgotten their God Creator. The descendants of this man were the only ones who still knew God, and this was only because God continued to come to them. With every generation, Abraham, Isaac, Israel, Joseph, Moses, Joshua, David, Solomon, every generation, every person continued to rebel against God. But God remained faithful and loving, not only to these people he had called, but to the entire world around them that had forgotten him. In the midst of the great Roman Empire, in a tiny nation, in a backwater village, a child was born. The child that had been promised was born. The hero that would free us from our sins. A child that was in fact God himself coming to take our place and to take the cost of our sin on himself, that we may know his righteousness and the reward of his goodness. From boyhood to manhood, he grew up among broken humans, but he remained perfect. At 30 years old, he began to preach, to share, to teach, to love, to heal, to forgive, and to care for humans. And after a few years, those same humans, as they had done for thousands of years, forgot his goodness and turned on him, killing him. But God allowed this to happen to himself. He forgave them and then rose again, conquering death forever. God then came and dwelt with humans, filling them with himself as he led them from brokenness to healing, from darkness to light. Humanity was saved because of a loving Father refusing to give up on this rebellious child. And today we can worship him, our perfect Father, our wondrous hero.